Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Cambridge Coffee Corner. Today's subject of the day is workforce management. And to guide us along with our mugs of coffee is Kurt Peeples. Kurt is Workforce Program Manager for Cambridge Retail Advisors, and joined also by David Elwood. David Elwood is Technical Consultant for Cambridge Retail Advisors, focused on workforce automation. And of course, by Ken Belanger, Vice President of Sales for Cambridge Retail Advisors. Gentlemen, have you got your coffees at the ready?
Yes.
Excellent.
Ready.
Now Ken, that is looking suspiciously like an alcoholic cup. Can you certify that you've got coffee in there?
Just coffee.
Excellent. Well done.
For now.
And David's going to the Rainforest Cafe afterwards to top up his coffee.
Yes, sir.
Well,
Great
welcome.
place.
Well, welcome everybody. Let's jump straight in. So workforce management, and I think we'll start off at like the high level. And I'd like to know from the panel what we think are the influences of workforce management today. What are bringing retailers to the table to want to spend time, money, and effort on workforce management solutions? David, I'll come to you first. Take it away.
Okay. Well, I think one of the things, obviously, is return on investment, right? So we want something that is easy to use, something that is going to give us plenty of options to be able to look at people's time, people's things where they're spending money, what they're doing for their jobs and things like that. But there's also, facial recognition that can be used at the clocks as well.
Sure. Hey, David, we'll come back and definitely spend some more time on self-service. We'll be back in there in a second.
Sure.
Kurt, what's your take on retailers spending money on workforce management?
I think it's an investment in the people as well as a way to save money, reduce cost. With all the automations things that are available, some of them that David mentioned, you could just clock in with your finger. But there's also other things when we get into self-service about things the employee can do on themselves, off the clock, off premise, and not have to bother a manager or HR to get information.
Yeah.
As well as some of the built-in features that regulate when you can punch, when you can't. That's going to save a whole lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken, what's your take?
Yeah. I think a lot of retailers are kind of carving up their retail footprint to do things like one employee might do buy online, pick up in store. So they need better scheduling systems that know what's the labor, what's their skill rate, and what's their skills that they're performing. So I think getting a system that has flexibility, functionality is really key.
Yeah. The one thing that struck my mind in some of the discussions that I've had is around the millennial workforce. And when they are self-selecting about which retailer they want to work for, and there's one retailer where Kurt, you were mentioning when we had that chat about them having to go to their supervisor every time they're looking for extra hours and things like that.
Right.
Compare that retailer to the one that's got a self-serve, pick extra hours and that kind of thing. The millennial workforce individual is more likely to pick the cool way of adding extra hours and swapping shifts and things like that, rather than having to go to the supervisor that may have some built-in biases and some favorites on the workforce and that kind of thing. So that kind of dynamic for trying to find workers actually becomes a benefit for recruiting the best and most interested. So I thought that was a really interesting piece as well. Okay.
Yeah, some retailers are bidding on shifts.
Yeah.
So each employee has that capability to say, this is the shift that I want to work today or next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's zoom in a little bit more at where David was going on the self-service side about the sophistication of self-service and the evolution of the old clock in, clock out, punch cards and things like that. Even though we still say clock in and clock out, it's no longer that ticker on the wall and the mechanical punch going onto a punch card, David. I think we've moved on a little bit since then, haven't we?
Yeah, that's right. And as I mentioned, the smart terminals still on the wall are much smarter, but also now mobile devices are being
Right.
used as well. So you can use your mobile devices to clock in, clock out, as well as look at maybe your accrual balances. How much time do you have left for vacation or sick time and things like that. And with that respect, the mobile devices themselves can be set up with geofencing so that we don't want somebody to be punching in on their way to work or while they're sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts, having their first coffee of the day, and getting paid for it. So with geofencing, it's yeah, it's really just a way of within the area of we can use IP addresses and whatnot to be able to track employees of where they're punching in and out.
Yeah.
So, like we don't want them punching in the parking lot either. So that can be all configured so that it's different depending on what the company is looking for.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
Well,
another aspect of that is along with helping the employees have a better experience or the user has a better user experience. Uh, the retailer is going to save money because they're going to get more out of their managers and supervisors and whatnot. There's many companies that are still doing this manually. The employee comes up to them, asks them how much time do I have, how much sick time do I have, or even to what shift am I supposed to be on. And having this employee self-service feature, it frees up that employee to do it whenever he has the ability to. He can do it at home. He doesn't
Hmm.
have to wait till the next day at work, as well as cost savings because now you have your manager, supervisor spending more time managing and supervising. There are
Yeah.
some companies who have even brought on board an admin person just to do that because their system can't. So you can imagine a company spending another $40,000, $50,000 on an extra person they really don't need.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money
Yeah.
that can be saved.
Yeah. Without knowing the actual systems that they've got, if you take a Walmart or a Target or a Canadian
Yeah,
Tire or something like that, by the time they've administered their workforce with all those questions coming in, that's a full-time role, just fielding all of that,
yeah,
yeah.
and
all
then
that
And
those
not to
questions
mention
coming in
all the
from the
calls that
workforce
go to.
about swapping hours and stuff.
Yeah,
It'd be a lot of effort.
also you have a lot
and
of
you
calls
want
going
your
to
store
HR as well
Yep, I'm
for
sure.
that.
Ken?
you want your store leaders to do high value tasks.
Yep.
This is not a high value task to do menial work like checking somebody's hours
Yeah,
and doing that. So
yeah.
it's important to make it productive.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of merges onto the third subject. We talked about democratizing the workforce, and so like an evolution of self-selection ends up being publishing available hours for people to be able to consume. And some companies actually are actually offering that up externally for individuals with the right certifications to be able to go and do tasks in stores on perhaps on behalf of CPG companies and that kind of thing without being employees. I mean, that's taken it to another level. It's like the Uber of casual employment, if you like. But yeah, so narrowing it back into the store though, that must come with a lot of with I'll say automated admin, if you like, because each of these employees they're really contracted for a certain number of hours, and these systems will help that be managed to make sure it's not abused and stuff.
Yeah, another thing, Duncan, too, if you look on the number side,
Yeah.
if you have 40 employees and those employees clock in 5 minutes early every day,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's all they do,
Yeah.
in a year, that's $17,000.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
suppose you had 400 instead of 40, that's $170,000 that you're paying out of pocket that you shouldn't have to.
Those
And
are not
that's why.
numbers.
Yeah, this is coming from the American Payroll Association.
Right.
They have the formulas and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
So,
and imagine if
I'm
that
going to keep
time.
it short, gentlemen, but we've only got a couple of minutes left. I wanted to give the last minute or so to Kurt Kurt, with your experience, you'd come across some problems in the project governance area on these projects.
Yeah.
Give us a couple of the tripping points on project governance that you've come across and what to avoid.
Well, and a common problem in companies is that all the departments are siloed. And especially accounting sits way on one side, and then you have timekeeping way on the other side. They don't usually talk.
Yeah,
I've had two projects where the chart of accounts was being overhauled and in flight at the same time that we were doing the timekeeping
right.
implementation, and we didn't find out until after we're halfway through the implementation. So some of the cost centers, profit centers were an additional length that wouldn't fit into the timekeeping system. So we
Right.
had to quickly recover, do some mapping and some creative,
Yeah,
type of things to make it work. But with governance, you have the whole end-to-end process, the stakeholders talking every 3 months, 6 months, at least 6 months,
yeah.
to talk about all their projects and how the chart of accounts project would affect all the other ones.
Well, this has been great conversation, but it is all we've got time for on this edition. So, my thanks to Ken, Andrew, and Kurt for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you all again on the next edition of Cambridge Coffee Corner.